you start out with a topic you have no clue about, right? And then as it goes on, each one, you learn more and more about that topic. Towards the end, you know about the topic. So
it's kind of like
the teacher out of New York was used to that. Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of like that. Fun. Okay, so everybody got your mobile phones. We're going to go get started. We're going to do a little game here. This is just for fun. It's not graded, so you can, but it's on terminologies we went over so far, just to see what you think you know, or what you do know, I guess. Not what you think you know, what you do know. This is a game called Kahoot. It's an online quiz creator for teachers and anybody that wants to create a Kahoot. And you basically get scores. The faster you answer with the right answer, the higher score you get. So if you've been like at, I think Buffalo Wild Wings has this type of thing where you play each other, and you probably play games like this where you get the higher score you get, the faster you answer with the correct answer, the higher score you get. So go ahead and go to that Kahoot.it, put in the PIN. You can give yourself a fictitious name. Again, this is going to be ungraded. It will give you a little warning, probably something like don't use a bad name or an evil name or something, because it can be deleted. And so, but have fun with it. Think of your superhero name. We had superhero names last night. Some folks created. So your favorite rock band, your favorite musician, author, whatever you want to put up. Some interesting ones here. So when we get 11 connected, we will get started. Three more. Well, I forgot to say, if you don't have a mobile phone, you can do this on a regular web browser as well. So sorry about that. If you don't have a mobile phone, bad for me to assume things like that. Two more. Anybody having problems getting in? No? I don't want to pick on anybody, but just need two more left. And then we'll get started. And you can use your web browser too. Just Kahoot.it, put in the game pin and choose a name. And we get two more, we will begin.
Oh, I posted one of my pictures I took for last week's assignment on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
Rock Valley College liked it and they wanted to repost it.
Oh, cool. Was that the, what was the photo of?
It was the little wheat stuff by the students.
Yeah, I saw Abby posting that or reposted that. Yeah, that's cool. Oh, all right. Yeah, raise your hand if you've joined in. I'm going to start picking on people.
Here's one more.
Okay. All right, we just need one more then. We're almost there.
We were just like swamped at work today, and that just put a big smile on my face when I saw that.
Yeah, I saw her. Yeah, that was an awesome picture, actually. Did she put that on our Twitter account, or Rock Valley College Twitter account?
I don't know.
I think she did.
I don't know.
Yeah, we might look at it after this, and I can bring it up.
So I'll check that out.
Okay, I guess I'm going to have to walk around and make sure everybody's connected. We just need one more. Okay, here we go. All right, you're connected, you're connected. Connected, 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 connected. Must not count, right? Oh, it's still connected. All right, so go put your name in. And then nickname, whatever you want to put up here, and then click OK, got it. I won't look at your screen. And we'll get started. That should be the only question to ask you. All right, there we go. Okay. All right, here we go. Great nicknames, by the way. Here we go. So all about digital photography is what this is asked. And are you ready? Choose a bogus classification of camera, and then you'll be able to pick a choice here. Red, blue, gold, or green. Prosumer, point and shoot, DSLR, point and aim. This is one that is not a classification. It's a bogus one. All right, so kind of wide spectrum there, but point and shoot or point and aim was not a classification. Prosumer is, point and shoot is, and DSLR is. Let's go to the next one. So Jodal's Life, Linium, can't think of, Promptu, and Shank. It's top 5. Point and shoot cameras make up about how many percent of cameras sold? 70, 80, 90, 60. All right. The answer was 90, 70, 80, and 60 incorrect. And by the way, all these questions I'm coming up with, we went over the first 3 weeks of class. So no surprise questions in here. So fictitious name, Bloop, top 2. Joji's Life, Linium, can't think of. And then prosumers usually have blank. Large telephoto zoom, extended zoom, or 1 terabyte of memory. Extended zoom is the answer on this one. It does not have a telephoto or a terabyte of memory. If it does, I'd like to see it. But anyway, good. Keep going. Sets DSLR apart. Can be more than one answer on this one. Sets DSLR apart. Larger sensor, removable lens, always black. The answer could have been larger sensor or removable lens. So everybody got 100% on that one. Yes. So there's a score as it stands. 5 out of 10. DSLR is large sensors, which means larger lenses, shutter, or pixels. Pixels is the answer on that one. We talked about how what makes a good photo is not necessarily megapixels, but how the digital sensor in the camera makes it, because it makes a larger pixel range of colors. Okay, determines the total size, dimensions of the image recorded by camera. Micropixels, megapixels, nanopixels. Correct answer, megapixels, 100% right. Awesome. There's a scoreboard as it stands. Or 7 to 10, what is the most impact when making a good shot? What is the most impact when making a good shot? Correct exposure, correct light, correct white balance. The 3-legged stool we talked about. Yes, correct exposure is correct on that one.
The answer was in the picture.
Yeah. There we go. And we are on 8 out of 10. How long the camera sees the picture? How long the camera sees the picture? ISO, shutter speed, aperture, exposure. What affects how long it sees a picture? Shutter speed is correct. Depending on how the shutter speed, it can give that effect like it gave on that image of the swing set being either very fluid, a slow shutter speed could also make a highway look like a white lines over a period of time. Defined as a hole or opening through which light is emitted. ISO, shutter speed, aperture, exposure. Aperture is correct on that one. And another term for that is f-stops as well. And you saw the photo as you were waiting for the timer to end. of the different photos with the different f-stops, and that's aperture. Refers to the light sensitivity of a sensor. ISO, aperture, shutter speed, exposure. Clues in the picture. All right. ISO is the answer on that one, and we are going to talk about ISO tonight. So, all right. So, fictitious name, whoever you are, correct. And then it should prompt you now for a survey like, did you learn anything? How do you feel? Recommended? Whatever. And so we'll do that periodically throughout the semester just for fun. And again, you can do this yourself at meetings or other things. Create.kahoot.it is the name of the site, totally free to use. And so something fun to do, something different. So do you guys like it? Hate it? Indifferent? All right. So we'll do that again. All right. So here we go. Now I need you to go, again, in a web browser. I need you to go to a Nearpod is the site here. So let me show you here. Let me pop it up on the overhead. In fact, if you just do, I think it's nearpod.me. Let's see here. Be the easiest one. Nearpod.com. Nearpod.com and type in that code. That'll pop up at the bottom, I think somewhere or in the middle of the page. So Nearpod, NEARPOD.com, and then put in that code NHYLJ in the screen there. Shoulder, if you don't mind. And name, and just put your name, I think is all we need. And my optional, you don't need anything in that, so just put first name is fine. You don't need to put your full name. This should come up with the slides of meaning history of ISO. You know you're in correctly when you're there. All right. And this is just to help us go along with the talk tonight before we get into the take-home homework assignment. So meaning of ISO or history of ISO starts out first with the name ISO. The acronym stands for International Standards Organization. It's a main governing body that standardizes sensitivity ratings for camera sensors and thousands of other things as well. It's also a term that's carried over from film, ISO is. Here's an actual document from an ISO organization. And as you probably see on your screen, everything I advance, it goes advanced on your screen. So just helps you be able to view things better. This is an actual document of photography, digital camera specification guidelines, and abstract. They call it a white paper. And it represents all the rules and regulations this organization has set for digital standardization of cameras. And so it's been around for a number of years. So everything we have in camera technology and even your phones comes from this ISO organization. So what it does is when you change the ISO settings, you saw that this last week on your assignment, when you change your ISO setting, it adjusts the sensitivity of light in the sensor. So ISO settings can be anywhere from 24 to 64,000 or even higher on some cameras. Most of you in here I had you do a 3 range, like 100, 200, 300, 80, 100, 120, whatever it was on your camera. These numbers direct relation with the device's sensitivity. So a lower number makes it less sensitive, higher number makes it more sensitive to light. And I think I told you we talked about last week, ISO basically fakes out light the way it is, whatever it might be. So in here, since it's kind of dark and dungy, we want to make it brighter. We actually bump up the ISO number. It'll fake out the sensor to make it look brighter in here for that photo. The danger, though, when we bump it up too high is the ISO can make the photo grainy and pixelated. So in traditional film days, when I started out, ISO or ASA was the indication of how sensitive the film was to light. It was measured in numbers. and you actually saw these numbers on the film when you bought it. So 100, 200, 400, 800 actually was on the film package before you opened it up to put it into your camera. So 35 millimeter, all cameras had this type of number, and depending on the number was the ISO that you got. The lower the number was the lower sensitivity. Also, the higher the number, the finer grains were taken as well. So perfect exposure, we talked about this in week 1 and 2 actually, on shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. Those 3 legs of the stool comprise of perfect exposure. And finding the right balance between these 3 settings is key to giving the perfect shot. Digital, ISO digital, we talked about film, now to ISO digital. Basically measures the sensitivity of the image sensor. The same principle applies as film photography. The lower the number, the less sensitivity. The higher number, the finer grain. So in film days, we bought a package of film, which determined our ISO number. Today, it's just a dial or a virtual dial. It's just on a screen you touch. It's a touch screen. High ISO, you've probably seen this on some of your cameras, basically generally used in darker situations to get faster shutter speeds. It's when you don't have time to adjust it yourself manually. You just need high shutter speeds now, because when you take photos, you probably had this happen in your life, it comes and goes. And so an event, whatever it might be, doesn't come back again. Once we lose it, it's gone. And so, you know, by switching to high ISO for a shot that's darker inside or outside. So for example, indoor sports event, when you want to freeze the action in lower light. However, the higher ISO can also give you the granulated or noisier shot when you use it. Just be aware of that. Here's an impact, how it impacts things. On the left side of your screen is 100 ISO. The right side is 3200 ISO. And you can see on your monitor, it looks better in the overhead. You can really tell the difference on your monitor because on the left side it's pretty clear for the most part. You can tell what the pedals are there on the side, on the left. On the right side, totally blurred out with the 3200 ISO, very granulated. This is blown up to about 400%. And so you can tell a big difference between the 100 and the 3200 in this photo. So 100 ISO generally is accepted as normal light. So if we had 100 ISO in here and took a photo, it would take it as the lighting is in here, whatever the natural lighting might be. Most people tend to keep their digital cameras in auto mode. When we do that, it selects the appropriate ISO setting for us as we shoot it. In fact, if you press the button halfway down on your camera, it's not only adjusting focus, it's also adjusting ISO for you automatically. You probably already knew that focus thing was happening because you could literally feel it or see it happening in your camera. But with ISO, you might not have seen it happening, but it was. And behind the scenes, being auto adjusted. So it'll keep trying it. It will try to keep it as low as possible. Most cameras also give you the opportunity to manually override, like we did this last week, your ISO, and we'll do it again this week as well, to fit whatever it is you think it should be. Because auto doesn't always get it right, and you probably figured that out. Auto doesn't always get the outcome right and what the photo you want it to look like. So when you override the camera to a specific ISO number, you'll notice it impacts the aperture, which is the hole in the camera lens to open or close for more or less light to get in. The shutter speed, same. How long the light comes in and how long depends upon the shutter speed for a well-exposed photo. So ISO, aperture, shutter speed, remember the 3 legs of a good photo, which all comprise would be exposure. We mix them all in a bowl, that's good exposure. For example, if we bump the ISO up from 100 to 400, we'll notice that you can shoot a higher shutter speeds and smaller aperture, okay? Because of just changing it from 100 to 400. So a question to ask when choosing an ISO, 4 questions. Light, is the subject well lit? Like in here, we know it's not. If we walked outside in the parking lot, even with street lamps or the parking lot lamps, not real well lit, right? It's not happening. Grainy, Do I want a grainy shot or one with noise? Now, why would you think you'd want a grainy shot sometimes, or noise, one without noise? Why? Give me an example of a shot that you might want noise to be in there. Anybody think of one? Motion? Yeah, so you don't really care if there's some grainy in there, making water look like it's moving, or runners look like they're running. Anything else you can think of? We might want to have a grainy or pixelated on purpose look. You think of something? Yeah. Do what now? Yeah, like an artistic effect, correct? Because a lot of photographers actually do just artistic photography, whether it be on objects, people, or otherwise. They do artistic, which would definitely lean towards pushing the envelope in ISO in ways you would think it wouldn't be used. And so, good answer. How about tripod? Are you using a tripod? If you're using a tripod, you can do a lot more things with ISO because of the tripod letting the camera sit still. You can play with it a lot and have more free reign, especially in darker lighting situations like during the 4th of July, things of that nature. So is the subject moving or stationary? These are all questions to determine ISO setting. So if there's plenty of light, I want little grain using a tripod, and my subject stationary, I will generally use a pretty low ISO rating. So the reason for that is good light, subject is not moving, and I have a tripod where I don't have to worry about the camera moving. I don't have to worry about ISO as much. I can leave it at the default's 100. If it's dark though, I purposely want grain. I don't want a tripod. I don't have a tripod, or my subject's moving. I might want to consider increasing my ISO as it enables me to shoot with a faster shutter speed and still expose a shot really well. Of course, there's trade-offs, as you probably saw this last week, and increasing ISO and being noisier in and of itself. But again, if you want an artistic look, or there's going to be some cases to where just because of the lighting, it's just going to be noisier, just because you don't have natural lighting to help you. Not everything's a photo shoot, or not everything's scheduled to be shot. And so a lot of events in life aren't like that. So situations where you might need to push ISO up higher, indoor sports events. These are particular events I thought would be helpful to you. So indoor sporting events where subjects moving fast may have limited lighting available. Concerts, every concert I've ever been to, very low light and often no flash zones in the concert, especially the nearer the stage you are. You're not allowed to do flash. Art galleries, churches, etc. have many rules against flash. If you've been to weddings before, maybe the minister or the people getting married or the church even might not allow you to take flash photo. And so anybody been to a wedding where they didn't allow that? That's pretty common, actually. Birthday parties. Again, these are higher ISO settings where the lighting is kind of low. Blowing out candles in the dark room can give a nice moody shot, which would be ruined by a bright flash. But you can increase the ISO and not have to use the flash. So ISO a lot of times can help replace flash, and in the cases where you can't use flash, whether by rules in the region you're in, or just to make the shot look better. Because when you've used flash, when you've used flash, it always does weird things a lot of times to your photo, right? The red eye, which some people are more prone to have red eye than others. Anybody here have your red eye every time your photo's taken? Or you have family members or friends? It's every time, regardless of what it is. So like, everybody looks great. Jill in the middle, red eye every time. She has a demon inside of her. I don't know. Just kidding. And so, something's, it's always something going on with one person or more in a group. ISO is an important aspect of photography to help us understand, to gain more control of the camera. Experiment it with, like you did last week, you'll do it again this week, on how it impacts your images, particularly with learning more about how aperture and shutter speed and juxtaposition to ISO is affected. And it's part of what's called the exposure triangle, which is the last slide we'll look at, which is this one right here. And so basically you've got the ISO, aperture, and shutter speed, which is cut off on the image. Shutter, aperture, ISO, the three-legged stool of a good exposure. All right, so that's it. We can exit out of that. And we'll go back to week 4. I do have a change on week 4. I put in an announcement, it was brought to my attention on Google Picasa. They've gotten rid of end of life for Picasa. So there is a Picasa replacement I want to talk about, which is Google Photos. Maybe some of you are already using Google Photos. Basically, it's just an online version of Picasa. It does pretty much everything that Picasa did. Not everything, like it doesn't create a DVD for us. We can't do contact sheets on Google Photos, but that's okay. I'll adjust it because this week I was having you do a contact sheet, but Picasa is no longer supported. So here's what we're going to do. Because Google's retired Picasa, I suggest you use Google Photos at home. And again, you're not going to get a grade for not using it, bad grade or negative grade, but it's just a good thing to help manage your photos, because if your computer were to crash and burn and your hard drive die, having a backup like through Google Photos is going to help in that situation. Because each week I have you just upload certain photos, not everything, into your Foki account. So this will help you upload everything and back it up. It even has phone apps for Droid and iOS that I do use that work really well. In fact, the apps have an easier way to edit photos than the native googlephotos.com does. I like using my iPad app and my iPhone app better. So if you have a Droid or an iOS, either one, I will say the app's really nice. So to begin, and again, we're going to do this right now just to see that everybody can get in. You should be able to log in with your student account here on campus. If you can't, I'll have you create a free Google account on the fly. So you'll just click on that picasa.google.com link, and then there should be another button here that says go to Google Photos. Click on that go to Google Photos. And here, if you're not already logged in to Gmail, it will prompt you to log in. And so I'll kind of walk around and see what your screens do look like. So I think that check mark should be turned on for you guys, but I don't know that for sure. I was told last semester they were supposed to turn it on for you. So you're logged on. Is that your S number? It worked okay? Okay, cool.
That's my actual.
Is that not your S number? Okay.
Yeah.
It is. Okay, cool. Yeah, it should work with your S number when you log in. And it should have like a little camera in the middle of it, a little blue camera. And if you have a blue camera in there, that's all really I want to make sure you can see. I'm going to go over some links here in a second that you can do at home and watch and go over. Yep, good. You want to? You don't have to use your S number, no. You can use whatever you want to. I just thought, I knew that would be a Google account you guys did have for sure. That's a good question. I do recommend, because after you leave college, now your S number is available for a while here on campus. I know you have to say this is the last class you take the rest of your life. It's good for another year or two or something. So I do recommend creating a free Google account to get into your own Google Photos. If you don't already have a personal Google account, it's a good idea to do that. I do that myself. All my personal photos through Google, I log in with a personal Gmail account, and it's totally free to set up. How many of you has a free Gmail account already? Most of you probably do. If you don't, that's the one I recommend using for even this class, just to back up your photos. But I knew everybody would have your S number to log into, so just to make sure you could get in. Now, it's pretty easy to navigate. I'll show you some real quick how-tos here, but it's pretty easy to use. What I'd recommend is, do you guys have on the left of yours the assistant button? Assistant? Click on the assistant, and the assistant will help you with everything. So an example, say you wanted to just create an album, and you click on album, and if you don't have any pictures in there, it forces you to upload some pictures, right? You don't have any in there now, maybe, or maybe some of you do. So I click, and I'm going to click a couple pictures in here, just a couple I have in here that are checked, and click create. And again, if you don't have any photos, it will ask you to upload some. And I'm just going to put in here, just a placeholder here to show how easy it is. Once I type in the text, I hit this little check mark here that I'm done. Go back. And now I've got, if I go to albums, I'll have in my albums the ones I just created. If I scroll down further here, there it is right there, week 4. The other thing that it will allow you to do, and I've not played with this much, is the assistant will also allow you to do collages, which I'm playing with a little bit right now to see if we can do a contact sheet, which I think we can, but I'm not going to have you guys do it this week. Animation's a new one I've not played with. On the animation, you're supposed to be able to select whatever images, click create. It'll go into animate, and like a slideshow basically is all. By default, that's what it does. And you can share that. Once you create whatever in Google, whether it be an image or a photo album, I can come up here and click this share button right here, or the share link. I'm hovering on the overhead, and I can share it with a certain individual's email. I can share it on Twitter, Facebook, or Google+. Most of you here probably be playing with these two here. If you want to share it on social, will be these two here. And it would take the slideshow and literally push it on social right now if I was to type in my Twitter account there. So the two you'll be using in here, I'm guessing, is going to be album, shared album. On this one here, you basically just select you have to click an album again to create it, but that album becomes shared by default. You can share albums that already are existing. So the one I just created for the week 4 here, I can click on this and come up here to the share icon, and again, say get link. And this link right here, I can give to anybody, and they can view those photos in there. So it's pretty easy to use. There is some editing features I'll show you on the overhead too, and this is being recorded, so you don't have to feverishly do it while I'm showing you here. Let me get an actual photo here of somebody. Let's see. Jay looks like he's been in a long night in a rock band or something. Oh my, that's funny. I'll have to show him that one. Now I'll pick on Jaden. This is Jaden when he turned 6. And again, it looks like he was just in an all-night rock band. This is my grandson. And so here's Jay playing this, his guitar here this is actually a Ion guitar, which these little buttons here, they're actually, it replicates a real guitar. So I was trying to teach him how to do some lead guitar. And it was, I think it actually was about 12:30 at night. So he's usually going to bed at 7 o'clock. So he probably was pretty tired. So I'm going to click on this pencil here and click edit. And again, they have some minor features you can do. So say if I want to do an auto fix on something, click auto. So you want me to edit original? Yes, edit original. So it's loading that edit right now, which is looking at Jaden's photo, looking at what it can do to fix it, both lighting, exposure, everything. Then it'll come back and show me that fix. Here we go. And so then I can apply different filters to it if I want to, like Vogue filter, Vista, which would be more like a black and white. I can also come in here to the slider and do color. They have a new one called Pop, which just makes things pop out more. And I can even do editing like cropping. And I can do where it moves a picture, whatever tilt I want to it. And if I want to force it to a certain, like original, it'll take it right back to that. If I reset it right back to where it's supposed to go, this will do rotate, and then finally say I like it, I'm done. And now this is actually in. If I click and hold this picture too, it shows me what the original will look like. If you see on the overhead, and I release it, it goes back to the edited version, which I do like that. I do like that piece that they added to it. And if I want to undo edits, I can click undo edits, and everything's back to where it was. So a lot of basic editing you can do with it for sure. So Picasa's out, Google Photos is in. Any questions on that? And again, this is just for you to manage your photos. You don't have to use it, but I recommend at least trying it, see if you want to, see if you like it. The steps, by the way, I did put some links in here on just some how-to stuff. One of the ones I really like is if you wanted to bring all your photos into Google, this third one, this one at the bottom, this Mashable.com, just how to get all your pics into Google from all sources. And I mean all sources. So if you wanted to bring in all your photos from Facebook, from Twitter, from any other cloud service, you can bring it all into with a Google backup and bring it in. So it can bring all of them in, desktop photos, your iPhotos, your camera storage photos, and it'll bring them all in for you automatically. It also shows you how you can manually upload, which I showed you on the screen earlier. Transferring stuff from Flickr, Facebook, Amazon, Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, Dropbox, has all the plugins for that. So anyway, that's the one that's the link I like. They're all good, but that's the one you might find more useful maybe. Questions on that on Google Photos? Okay. So next I'm going to click on the home button here for our site. Go to week, let me go to modules, get quicker that way. So we did the in-class assignment, we did the slide, went over the Picasa change. Now I want to go over the take-home, and then we'll end on the photography quiz, which we'll have next week, which is just basically it's going to be a quiz you'll take as soon as you come to class, and it'll take 5-10 minutes at the most, that long. Just drag and dropping terms with definitions is all you're going to be doing. And I'll show you where that study guide's at in just a second. So for this week, you're going to build upon last week's ISO, which I think I just had you do 3 different ISOs. You're going to do 3 again this week, but you're not going to play with the white balance as much. You're going to do a little different this week. Play around with it a little bit different anyway. And I had a question last week on when I give you examples in here of where to take photos. Those are just examples. So if I say here on campus, you don't have to come on campus to do these. You can do them wherever. So you're going to take 10 photo settings, 30 photos. So literally 10 different places in your world you're going to go to. That doesn't have to be long. You can be in the same building or house or workplace or whatever. 10 different photo places or settings, what I call them. 3 photos per setting, which comes up to 30 photos. Each setting, I want to see 3 different ISOs. For example, if you went to Cherryville Mall, again, the same increment I told you guys last week is what we'll use this week. All right. And I went around to make sure everybody knew where their ISO settings were. So this example here is Cherryville Mall 80, 100, 300. I say once you get them done, you can connect to your computer however you want to. Some of you might even have wireless connections where you dump your photos that way. So however you do it, import them instead of using Picasa, Google Photos, bring them in. Upload the 30 photos to week 4 album on Foki. Comment on each photo with a below. And you'll get this information. What's nice about using photos is you can get demographic information about the photo itself in the settings area. It'll tell you kind of, especially on your computer, it'll give you that as well, like on Windows or Mac. It'll tell you certain things about that photo, certain things about it. Like, for instance, you already know where you took it at, the place, the lighting, the ISO, and then save it as JPEG. Now, where it says save it as JPEG, most of your photos are already saving most of your cameras are already saving your photos as JPEG anyway when they bring them in. But some of them might not. Some of them might be saving it as RAW or might be saving it as a PNG or whatever. I don't know. I would say majority of you, if I was to guess, it's already saving your photos on your camera as JPEG or your phone as JPEG. By the way, there are settings in your camera to tell what photo type to save as, and I would recommend, again, JPEG to do that. If you don't know how to do that, you can look at your manual, and it'll show you where to get that setting. So abbreviations for your this is actually the way it is, wherever it is you're at. So if it's sunny outside, S, cloudy, C, indoor bright, IB, indoor dark, ID. D. So this would be ID in here, indoor dark. So example would be mall, B for the indoor bright, 200 ISO. Then what you'll do is basically what I'd like you to do is you'll submit each of the 40 or actually 30 photos to the week 4 album. And you don't need to put like you did last week what you think the best one is. I don't want that. I just want to literally see the different ISO settings for all of your 10 different photo sites that you want to, and the increment of ISOs, whether it be 100, 200, 300, whatever it might be, and then label them accordingly. So the labeling on your Foki album will be just like this. It'll be look just like this. So maybe it'll be work IB 200, work IB 100, work IB 300, something like that. So it'll be the same location, and I can tell by the photo it's in the same location as well. But the label of the name or the place will be important to be the same name for each of the 3 photos in the setting. Make sense? Questions on that? Okay. And so this is the homework for this week. And I wanted to go over your terms you need to go over or need to at least study. So I'm not going to keep you real long tonight. And this is just stuff you need to know for most photography beginning classes. When you go to this week 4 photography terms, the little link here in Eagle I'm highlighting, if you click on that link, it'll expand it. It's a Word document that pops up. So these are basic stuff that we've already went over, but let's look at them real quick. So digital photography, basic photography tips, for example, it gives an aperture of 5.6 will allow you to 2 more times light than an aperture of 8, 2 times less light than 4. At 1/250 seconds exposure time for shutter will let you 2 times more light than 1/500 seconds exposure for shutter, and 2 times than 1/125 seconds exposure for shutter. Aperture priority mode is a setting most digital cameras have that allow the user to choose aperture while the camera calculates a shutter speed for a good exposure. So when you set aperture, the camera will automatically control the shutter speed for you. You don't control that in aperture mode. The need for using this shooting mode arises when the need to control the depth of field, which we talked about last week, where you want to focus in on a subject and blur the background. Like we looked at the 3 balls of twine and the 2 on the left. You can see the good one up front on the left, but the back 2 are blurred. Aperture mode is going to help you do that. So the next is shutter mode, priority mode. This shooting mode is very useful when dealing with problems of a moving subject. For example, a car traveling speed of 50 kilometers per hour is doing about 13.8 miles per second. If you use a shutter speed of 1 second, you'll be able to obtain an image with a background, no subject. Zoom. This feature, most of your cameras, most digital cameras have what's called digital zoom from, it could be 10 times, 12 times, 4 times. The traditional language was on 35 millimeter equivalent is where that came from. The zoom is particular lens is a subject of a lot of confusion, but most of your cameras today, including your smartphones, have what's called digital zoom, where it's digitizing it in the sensor to zoom in to that location, and that's fine. That's all you need to know about that. Landscape photography, the most common form of photography. All you need to know about this one, or you need to do, is surround yourself by beautiful scenery, point your camera in a particular direction, and take a picture. But there are also some things you'll need to do before taking a picture, and you'll learn about that during the landscape photography session. But just know this about landscape photography: you're looking at scenery, basically, for the most part. Night photography, particular form of photography which requires good technical knowledge of capabilities of digital camera tripod. And this one, tripod's important, that word there. Tripod's important in night photography. Macro photography. I'll try to give you guys keywords here that'll help you. The photos that can be included in this category are those that depict a reality of a one-to-one scale. So if you're taking a picture of a butterfly and has a wingspan of 3 centimeters, the printed image must be a butterfly with a wingspan of at least 3 centimeters. So it's got to be at least the one-to-one, at least that on macro. So all you need to know about macro, one-to-one, at least one-to-one on what it is being depicted as. Nature photography, it can be any kind of subject, depends upon the imagery, imagination of the photographer. Aperture, it's a device that controls the quality of light that passes through the lens. It's an iris type mechanism like your eye, which shrinks or grows in order to let less or more light in. Shutter speed. Shutter is a mechanism that controls the exposure time of an image. This time can be manually set by using the shutter priority shooting mode for your digital camera. The numbers you use will look probably like this, which it doesn't have that in the image. Shutter speed, again, can be anything, though. For this one, all you need to know is exposure of time that an image has. Light has to come into an image. That's all you need to know, exposure time. ISO speed shows this light sensitivity of image sensor to amount of light present. On this one, light sensitivity. That's what you need to know. Image resolution, the most talked about feature of digital camera, 3 to 12 and more. Every generation of cameras increase that resolution. So for image resolution, megapixels. Megapixels for image resolution. Image stabilization, that was a shake option that all of them have different manufacturers have different names for the shake stabilization or image stabilization. All you need to know on this one is anti-shake is the keyword on that one that you'll need to know. Image format. On this one, I won't read it all. The type of format, so JPEG and RAW are the two most common. JPEG and RAW. Focal length, that one is basically the digital camera lens is distance between the center of the lens and the image sensor. So on this one, distance between the lens and the sensor is what focal length is. Depth of field is a distance between the nearest or farthest object that appear in focus. In simpler terms, we define depth of field as a zone of sharpest focus in front of, behind, and around the subject. This one, key words on this one is focusing on subject. Focus on subject and might have blur in there as well. So focus on subject with the background blurred. But for sure, focus on subject on the depth of field. White balance setting for digital camera, very useful. Various light settings. On this one, so the best way to understand setting is to place a sheet of white paper in front of the camera and take a photo. So for the quiz on this one here, all you need to know is the fact that it's various light conditions for white balance. You adjust it on various light conditions. Exposure compensation feature on some digital cameras allows you to adjust shutter speed measured by light meter. EV value is another term as well. But for this one, all you need to know is on this one here, the adjustment of the shutter speed, the exposure compensation. Adjustment of the shutter speed measured by light meter. This light meter, this EV, the letter EV, stands for the exposure value. Exposure value. Red eye removal, most cameras have this in digital, cell, otherwise smartphone. Removal of red eyes, all you need to know on that one. Tripod, this is going to help to keep things steady, keep your camera steady. And so tripods are used for that. And it mentions in the paragraph here about if you have a slower shutter speed, you definitely need a tripod because of the shake. Batteries, most of your cameras have some type of battery. On this one here, just need to know the type of batteries your cameras has. The most popular will be either rechargeable or AAA. And then filters. Photographic filters have been used for a long time. They're required for special effects. In today's, it might be used for white balance. However, the only filter digital camera usually needs is what's called polarizer. And so on this one here for photographic filters, polarizer is the only term you really need to know. All right, and that's it for that. So before I let you go, I brought in, I had to bring these in last week. I didn't have you guys look at them. The portfolios. What I'd like you to do is come up and look at, before you leave tonight, come and look at these portfolios and take one or two of them home with you, because these are what you're going to be doing in your final, in this class. You'll see a whole bunch of different years in here. I try to pick a different montage of portfolios, but go and literally take one home with you, if you don't mind, and then just bring it back next week. No big deal. You want to take a couple home with you? We got plenty. I got probably 25 or 30 of them here. And so at least take one home with you that you really catches your eye. You don't have to stay up here long, but I definitely want everybody to bring one home to look at. The makeup of the portfolios. Some of the portfolios will have a DVD in there. You can play them on your home desktop player or your computer if you have a DVD player on your computer still, which some of you might not. How many does not have a DVD player on your computer? I don't anymore. I have an external one I use sometimes, but I don't have one on my computer anymore. So
and some of the newer ones don't have the DVD drives.
Yeah, no, they don't. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, for Christmas, my little sister wanted a